And I reckon this is the antithesis of what we've been talking about. I reckon this could absolutely have made it for a cinematic release. And I think it's far more... I mean, it's really far-fetched and ridiculous, but it's very different. And for that reason, I reckon it would gain an audience at the cinemas. But it's on Disney+, and it's called Fresh. And it's a film that, well, it'll put you off eating meat forever. It's a twisted tale of depravity with some humorous moments. Noah, that's N-O-A, played by Daisy Edgar Jones, is an attractive, bright, everyday young woman who can't seem to find a decent bloke. Her online dating has been nothing short of disastrous, and her latest dinner companion, well, he has been the worst of the lot. Noah constantly confides in her BFF, this former workmate, gym buddy called Molly, John O.T. Gibbs, who tries to steer her in the right direction. That's what a mate does. Then, unexpectedly, Noah meets a charming and handsome doctor, Steve, played by Sebastian Stan. And it just happens to be meeting at the supermarket in the fresh vegetable aisle. His smile, his easygoing manner win her over. And before long, they're dating and having hot and heavy sex. Oh, it's quite natural that when he suggests they go away together for a few days, she says, yeah, why not? Mind you, Molly is suspicious because Steve does not appear to have a social media presence, and in this day and age, that is highly unusual. And as it turns out, Molly had every right to be suspicious because everything changes when Noah and Steve arrive at his impressive home. That's tucked away in the woods. Out of sight, out of mind. Steve is one very sick puppy whose plans for Noah are decidedly unsavoury. And she is not the only one who's been caught up in his honey trap. A tortured tale has only just begun. This was penned by Lauren Kahn, directed by Mimi Cave. This is her first feature, Mimi's. It will certainly not suit all tastes, if you pardon the pun. Some will find it hard to swallow, I dare say, Dave.
Yeah, look, this is almost like a little bit of a savage film. And that surprised me, considering that it's available on Disney+. But look, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I thought it was a good thriller. It had much more of a European feel to it than it did an American feel, and that, as I say, is a big positive. But I was really impressed with Sebastian Stan's acting in this. He of course, has just done the Pam and Tommy biopic as well, and he has really, really shown that outside of the Marvel Universe, he is an actor to be reckoned with. I also really enjoyed Daisy Edgar Jones's performance here as well, but hats off to the screenwriter, because this is a pretty savage film to be a mainstream film, but I thought it worked really, really well. The only thing I thought was wasted was the characters of Molly and Paul. I thought they were kind of wasted even with the finale as well, so I would like to have seen more perhaps put into that, but apart from that, yeah, this was an enjoyable thriller for me.
This certainly could have made it into the cinema, could it not?
Oh, definitely, yeah, but you have to look at who's making the films. I mean, you can understand that companies like Star, which is part of Disney Plus here, want people to sign up for their streaming platform, so they're not going to put it out into the cinema and let somebody else make money off their product.
But it does say a lot about the fact that the quality that's being produced for streaming, and we've known this for some time, is every bit the equal in many instances of what would be seen in the cinemas. I think that's an important point, and increasingly that's going to be the case. Greg, you haven't seen this one yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
No, that's all right. Well, it's one that I reckon you know, if you get the chance to, it's well worth seeing. Peter, you have seen it. I mean, if you do choose to see this movie, you'll no doubt appreciate how much fun you can have punning about it. I mean, for an out there picture, I must say I appreciate it too. like Dave, what was served up. The plot is sick. Yes, thank you. But it's also creative, isn't it?
It is. I thought, great. It's nice to see another Disney family movie. And of course, it's far from that, but it also lends the idea that it gives you a whole new meaning to the term eat me. But anyway, if we move into the storyline, I was worried at first that this was going to be another attack the woman, she's going to suffer sort of film, which we've seen so much of in terms of cinematic cliches. However, I'm so pleased to say that this film developed lots of twists and turns, which did surprise me, and I was very impressed. Now, the whole idea of this woman who is having problems finding the right guy to date and finding eventually one who has an interesting perspective, so to speak, and is quite deadly in many respects, is an interesting twist on the tale. But the film eventually becomes a feminist film. And that's what I enjoyed about it, because the tables are turned, but without going too much into any spoilers. Look, it's cleverly done. It's very well directed. I thought some of the editing in the film was superb, especially the meal sequences, which I won't describe any further. And the film is very close to bordering real nastiness and something that will turn off an audience, which is probably why it's gone to streaming. Nevertheless, I think it's a pretty strong film. Good twists and tales, twists in the plot, and the tale is worth telling in this film. So Fresh was pretty fresh for me.
Yeah, well, it takes more than half an hour, doesn't it, to move from a romance to a horror. And that's when the first credits appear. Now, again, we're used to seeing credits after 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, many films do that. That was unusual in and of itself, wasn't it, Peter?
It was, but we've seen a few films like that. I've seen a few now at the French Film Festival, and Drive My Car, of course, the credits aren't there until much later into the film. So I suppose it's become a particular form that some filmmakers like to use.
But isn't that great, Dave, that you've got creativity like that involved even in credits, which, pretty stock standard for many, many years?
Definitely, and I saw it in this film as a sign from the director of this is when the real story starts. Like you said, I was the same as you. I didn't look too much into this film when I went into it. Didn't watch a trailer or anything like that. And when it first started off, I thought, oh, great, it's going to be another one of these kind of mumblecore romantic dramas. So when it took the savage twist, that was a complete surprise to me. And I love the fact that the screenwriter was able to set it up that way. But I saw those opening credits as a nod from the director of, okay, you've had a little bit of the film right now. Now you're going to get the real story.
I agree with you. And I thought, wow, isn't that creative? Isn't that wonderful? Terrific. Don't try too hard to find plot holes in it. I mean, just strap yourselves in for a wild ride. I really liked the two leads. I thought that Edgar Jones brought this sort of down-to-earth quality to her role. And Sebastian Stan, well, he adopts the persona of this calm psychopath, quite used to being in control. The contrasting settings and the mood music, they also work really well to build the tension. Not surprisingly, and this is always going to be the case, I dare say, with a movie like this, before the final credits, the writer Khan and the director Cave, they threw the kitchen sink at Fresh. There are shocks aplenty. The film delivers thrills and spills. And if you don't mind a carve-up, Peter, it might just be worth tucking in, eh?
Oh, look, as I said, eat me.
So, Disney Plus, folks, for Fresh. I'm going to render it a very, very high mark. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Dave?
Yeah, I'm giving it 8 out of 10. And for everybody out there, when you're watching it, sit down with your crackers, your salami and your ham, and you'll be fine.
Very good. And Peter, what are you going to enjoy? What sort of meal, eh?
Oh, look, I can't wait to carve something up right now. But I would say I agree with you in terms of the marks. I'd give it 8 out of 10 as well.
Isn't that amazing? Now, but again, it's